fans. I'm Ghastly.
I'm gruesome.
And we're still, in lockdown. But we're watching another movie.
Yeah, because what better do we all have to do in this global pandemic where we've all lost our jobs and we're all just staying at home and ripping our eyes out?
That's probably more horrific than most. That image is pretty horrific. More horrific than a lot of stuff.
God damn it! I want to bash my head on the fourth wall right here.
Stop. All right. Anyway, this movie, this time, the one we're watching, is not really themed to the pandemic like Black Death was. What we're watching is 2011's Bunnyman.
Bunnyman.
Known as the Bunnyman Massacre in the United Kingdom.
It has nobody famous.
Who directed it?
Carl Lindbergh.
What else has he done?
The Bunnyman Massacre 2 and 3.
Isn't the third one just called Bunnyman Vengeance?
Yes.
Amazing.
The third one, this 2017 one, was called Bunnyman Vengeance.
Oh, and in 2019, he re-released a director's cut, quote-unquote, of Bunnyman called the Bunnyman Massacre Grindhouse Edition, which added additional footage and gave the whole thing a sort of a Grindhouse grainy film filter over the whole footage thing.
We're not watching that because...
that sounds awful.
No thanks.
We're watching the one that was released in 2011. It is worth noting that if you're wondering why anyone would make a horror movie called Bunnyman, it's based on an urban legend originating from these incidents in Fairfax County, Virginia in the 1970s. Basically, supposedly, there's this bridge overpass, and sometime it was called Bunnyman Bridge. And there was this dude in like an Easter Bunny suit, supposedly, who murdered people.
And it really is just an Easter Bunny suit. It's not even like a good, expensive furry costume.
I hate that you phrased it that way.
Well,
I hate that you phrased
those things are obviously expensive and obviously...
Yeah, but why would you... No. A guy in a full-blown, $700 fursuit of a rabbit murdering people under a filthy overpass would raise so many more questions than just some crazy guy in a cheap, filthy Easter Bunny suit murdering people.
But it would be scary.
No, I think that'd be funnier.
If Hoppity the rabbit started stabbing people.
Why is this person's persona called Hoppity the rabbit?
I don't fucking... Sorry.
What are you doing?
I don't mean to swear so much, but good lord, I don't know. I don't know what furries call themselves.
But you're the one who got us onto the subject.
I just thought of the first, animal name that was rabbit-themed that I could think of.
Anyway, oh my god. Supposedly, this guy was wearing an Easter Bunny suit. He killed some people. Supposedly, he ate someone's runaway cat. He was supposedly cited on October 22nd, 1970. Then on October 31st, 1970. Then November 4th, 1970. Then November 6th, 1970. Multiple people reported seeing him. There was actually even a research paper submitted by a student to the University of Maryland that chronicled precisely 54 variants of the two incidents. The two incidents being the first reported sighting, police requested a description of the man. Here we go. October 70, Cadet Robert Bennett of the U.S. Air Force and his fiancée who were visiting relatives on Guinea Road in Burke. Around midnight, they were returning from a football game. They reportedly parked their car on Guinea Road to, quote, visit an uncle who lived across the street from where the car was parked. As they sat in the front seat with the motor running, they noticed something moving outside the rear window. Moments later, the front passenger window was smashed, and a white-clad figure was standing near the broken window. Bennett turned the car around while the man screamed at them about trespassing, including, "You're on private property and I have your tag number." As they drove down the road, the couple discovered a hatchet on the car floor that apparently had been used to smash the window. When the police requested a description of the man, Bennett insisted he was wearing a white suit with bunny ears. However, his fiancée contested that there were no bunny ears, but was wearing some sort of a, Wikipedia says a capirote? Oh, one of those tall pointed hoods that Spanish priests and also the KKK wear. Huh. So that was the first incident, and then the second incident, evening of October 29th, 1970, Construction security guard Paul Phillips approached a man standing on the porch of an unfinished home in Kings Park West on Guinea Road. Phillips said the man was wearing a gray, black, and white bunny costume, was about 20 years old, 5 feet 8 inches, weighed about 175 pounds. Good God, this guy got a lot of info on this crazy person that he supposedly saw in the dark. The man began chopping at a porch post with a long-handled axe, saying, "You are trespassing. If you come any closer, I'll cut off your head."
So this was just a guy who didn't like people on his property?
And who apparently also wore a bunny suit, for some reason.
I was gonna say, because this is the consistent theme.
Yep.
You're trespassing.
Fairfax County Police opened investigations into both incidents, but both were eventually closed for lack of evidence. In the weeks following the incidents, more than 50 people contacted the police claiming to have seen the Bunnyman.
Maybe he just wanted to, have fun and tell people to get the fuck off his yard.
Or maybe he was a drug addict, or maybe somebody made up a story about a Bunnyman, and then somebody else also made up a story about a Bunnyman, and then somebody actually dressed up as a bunny, because sort of like those clown sightings where there probably was no real scary clown, but then once the media got hold of it, a bunch of people started dressing up as scary clowns because it was funny. It was maybe something like that, unless we believe the report that he ate somebody's cat. That probably wasn't someone playing a prank for giggles. That was
probably just a guy in a bunny suit eating a cat.
Again, that lends towards crazy or drug-addicted lunatic in a bunny suit, yes. Anyway, so the Bunnyman Massacre, or Bunnyman, I like the name Bunnyman Massacre more, but Bunnyman, 2011 horror film, it wasn't just directed by Carl Lindbergh, it was written, directed, and produced by him. This was apparently his passion project. And it has the spectacular
We made 3 of them.
It has the spectacular tagline, "Pretty girls die young." So we can tell that it's really approaching this urban legend with the grounded sense of realism and an attempt to get to the bottom of things.
These mangoes are really good. This is going to be a horrible movie.
This is fair. Yeah, I was about to say, why are you so off topic so fast? But yeah, no, this is going to be a bad movie. Let's strap ourselves in. We'll see you after the film, folks. And we're back.
This movie sucks. Okay. So,
I mean, we went into this wanting a movie that was going to be bad to tear to pieces. We knew this was going to be bad.
It's really easy to tear this to pieces because it's just
awful.
It's the Hoppy Chainsaw Massacre.
No, but for real, you could tell that they wanted to be Texas Chainsaw Massacre without really getting what made Texas Chainsaw Massacre work other than, well, there's a big dude with a mask and a creepy face and he chainsaws people and there's scary rednecks.
And there's scary redneck characters and there's a weird tea party set or something.
Well, the dinner table.
Yeah.
I don't know. Here's the thing. They give away the jig too early so frequently. The movie opens with him butchering people in a school bus. The child actors were horrible.
So, and they keep... let's get to... The fact that they keep implying that the Bunnyman has some sort of tragic backstory. And then every once in a while, Jill Scott goes, no, it's okay, everything's gonna be alright. It's not really Jill Scott, but I think that's funny.
Every time, every other or every third time he murders someone, we get this slow shot of his Bunnyman mask, while some older woman's voice whispers and echoes, "It's all right. They can't hurt you anymore. The feelings will go away." And then he flashes back on the murders. And it's like, are we trying to feel bad for the Bunnyman? Also, they give away that he's wearing the Bunnyman suit because he's got some weird burned face, a third of the way into the film.
Yeah, he's like the Phantom of the Opera or some garbage or nonsense. He's too ugly to be shown to the world.
He doesn't talk. I don't know. Also, his eyes don't seem to have pupils or sclera. They're like that all blind, like the blind milky white eye effect that you usually do, but he can drive a truck.
I will say, this has some of the most entertaining murders I have ever seen on film.
It was like a low-budget Saw, but worse.
One of the first murders is just him.
He drags a woman out of her tent in her sleeping bag, and then picks her up and slams her against the rock over and over again.
He just over the shoulder, like reel back over the shoulder, whacks her on a rock.
Like a roadrunner killing a snake. Until her sleeping bag spews out cherry red fake blood. Everyone dies in this movie by getting covered in cherry red fake blood.
Everyone gets gushered. Like, everyone has their little fruit packet goo come out of their...
They'll show him go at someone with a chainsaw, and they'll use some camera angle trick that's super obviously a camera angle trick to show him cutting them up. And then the next shot will just be them totally uninjured, but covered in fake red blood and not moving. And their eyes are kind of fluttering.
There were 2 times where we both audibly laughed out loud at the same time.
During a murder.
And it might have happened 3 times. But like the 2 I remember was the first one we just described, and then the second one where he's chainsawing her head and she's just shaking back and forth like it's a...
She screams once, and it's not even a death scream, it's sort of a ah no kind of scream.
And then she's
just shaking there with this dumb look on her face. And I'm not being mean.
It's so easy to see that the chainsaw's behind her head.
Remember the time he hit someone with a machete and super obvious CGI blood shot out? Yes. Not even a blood packet, but CGI blood that was added in post. And then when it does a close-up on her body, you can tell that the wound is CGI and added in post.
That's the other thing. There's stock sounds and stock CGI all over this project. I've seen a few of these come free with free editing software.
Remember how I mentioned they wanted to be Texas Chainsaw? At one point, if they didn't just steal the creepy camera sound effect from the opening of Texas Chainsaw for their own chase scene, then they basically did their damnedest to recreate it because it sounded exactly like that. There's no plot in this movie.
There's no plot.
There's just things that happen.
It's like he thought of a bunch of
ways to kill.
It's like he watched a bunch of horror movies, said, "Oh, that's a way to off your protagonists." And
There's no protagonist!
There's no protagonist.
Or I guess the creepy rapist redneck or wannabe rapist redneck. Bunnyman?
I think he took the plots of like 3 different horror movies in this style.
This is more exploitation film than horror movie, but yeah.
Chose 3 protagonists and then just had them go one after another.
But it kills all of them.
Because that's what happens.
Like, I can admire a horror movie that says they don't survive. Hostel did that, and that was horrifying. But Hostel picked picked 2 people, one set of protagonists, and said, okay, these are the people you should care about. Here's why you should care about them. Here's horrible things being done to them.
And
that works. There's a dozen girls die horribly in this movie?
And so much of it is just exposition in 2 minutes, in 2-minute conversations that were just like, okay, this is, I guess, your backstory and why we should care about you.
Remember that moment when
it's just dialogue expositing.
Remember when we find out that the reason one girl is willing to kidnap other girls for the girl that was going to be raped is because they were her sister?
Yes.
After she kidnapped the other girls?
Yes. It's after they got free we learned they were sisters.
And then they have a literal 2-minute argument where it's literally just them going back and forth on the same points.
You're my only family. Well, yes, I know. But
you traded my life for 3 innocents. You don't know that they're going to die. Yes, I do. Well, you're my only family. But you traded my life for 3 innocents. But you're my only... For 2 minutes, it's just that.
It's just them cycling this.
And then Bunnyman, again, keeping in mind, this is a guy who we've been established is a horrifying burn victim with weird screwed up eyes. In an Easter Bunny suit with the giant Easter Bunny walkabout mascot head. Drives up to them in a pickup truck. Gets out of the pickup truck, walks up to them while they stare at him in horror, and then sucker punches one of them in the face. He just right hooks her, and then it cuts.
You know what's sad? Is that the furry version of this movie...
Why do you keep bringing us back to this?
The furry version of this movie that I pitched at the beginning of this video has more of a plot than this movie does.
The urban legend has more of a plot than this movie did. Here's the other thing. About 2/3 of the way through, Bunnyman finally picks up an axe, and we both went, oh, he's got the axe now. Because despite the urban legend that this is ostensibly based on, having the guy consistently be using a hatchet or an axe, this guy consistently uses a chainsaw, because it wants to be Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They put a bunny mask on a Virgin Mary statue for a piece of set dressing because they thought it would look creepy instead of incredibly ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a lot of things.
It wasn't even really about Bunnyman. It was really about the creepy wannabe rapist, terrible redneck who keeps going on weird sexist monologues.
And oddly, that is the guy we can surmise as the protagonist because we only spend the most time with him.
He's the only one who we have any idea about what his character is beyond vague allusions because, again, we spend most of the time with him and we have nothing to do but listen to him rant. He even kind of goes through an arc.
You know what's sad is that I don't think he was trying to give as bad a performance as he did.
I think he just couldn't act.
I just think he was given a shit script and he was also tasked with I just have to try to carry this entire
I have to carry this movie using nothing but expletive-laden, incredibly sexist, incredibly hackneyed monologues that are one part me just menacing anyone and everyone I'm on screen with, and one part me stating my character motivations out loud as they occur to me.
Part of me is just dialoguing with something that can't respond to me.
That's true. There's an entire 5-minute scene of him having dinner with Bunnyman. And again, Bunnyman doesn't talk and is just a guy in a bunny hat mask. So he can't talk or emote.
I really don't want to blame him because I don't know if I could have
But then again,
worked from nothing.
When the sheriff shows up wearing what is so obviously an off-the-rack
He's
Halloween
the best
costume
part
sheriff,
of this movie.
all of a sudden, we're like, wow, this man can act. He's saying one thing, but you can tell he means another. You can figure out that the character just had a realization without him announcing it. That's how low the bar is.
The fact that you could tell the character motivation without them having to exposit it.
The character seemed to have an actual inner life. Boom, that's literally the first thing you learned in an acting class.
They had a motivation going. They had an inner monologue. They were like, I want to accomplish something.
Of course, even that character wasn't spared the horrible writing because, again, in the final showdown where for some reason he decides to actually have a duel with terrible racist hillbilly.
Okay. Let's talk.
Backstory.
Let's talk about that scene because we have a scene.
It's near the end. It's like we're in the last 15 minutes of the film.
Last 15 minutes of the film. He's drawing
So two of the girls have escaped. And Bunnyman and the redneck are hunting them down.
The cop comes from behind
the redneck.
Crazy redneck.
Who is carrying a sniper rifle, mind you.
He comes from behind.
He's got the drop on him.
He's got the drop on him. He comes from behind. He is still pointing the weapon at him the whole time. He's from a few feet back. He goes all the way to his front.
So he makes him turn around.
Keeps talking to him the whole time.
And there's this
pointing at him. And there's all this drawn out dialogue of I'm gonna get you.
You killed 3 of my deputies and I had to explain to their widows and I don't want to take you in because I hate the justice system even though I'm a sheriff. I want to kill you myself. And again, during this, before he makes him turn around, and having never told him to drop the gun, we hear the redneck very deliberately cock his rifle, and we're supposed to assume either the sheriff didn't notice or didn't care.
So for 3 minutes, I'm staring at the screen going, okay, shoot.
Okay,
shoot
him.
Now.
Tell him to drop the gun.
Shoot him now. How about now? Shoot him now.
And the sheriff...
Shoot now.
And the sheriff says, I want to shoot you, or you can drop your gun. Either way. And the redneck goes, so how's it going to go? And the sheriff goes, I think we're going to have a duel. And then the sheriff lowers his gun to his hip.
So that
it's a fair duel. Against the serial killer.
Literally. When he was pointing the gun, when he was behind the guy, I was just like,
just shoot him.
Just shoot him.
And
also, I was like, okay, maybe he's the good guy. Maybe he doesn't want to just get the jump on him.
But no,
so
he
tell him.
I'm not.
So you're pointing the gun at him. You have the leverage. Tell him to drop the gun. But no, he just wants to make this a fair duel, and that's foolish.
And then they played like the Western or their shitty knockoff Western duel music, and then the redneck shoots the sheriff, but the sheriff manages to shoot him as well, but he misses and ends up on his back, and then the redneck gouges the sheriff's eyes out, and then it's implied he gouged so deep he burst through his skull and popped his brain, but then the sheriff still shoots him.
There's a loud
like a
sound.
Balloon popping, like a water balloon popping.
Yeah, totally.
And then the sheriff still manages to shoot him in the neck, and then he's immobilized until Bunnyman comes back and shoots him because the redneck guy was abusing Bunnyman the whole time. Because again, ripping off Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the weird dynamic Leatherface had with his family because he's a man-child. Oh, and the last girl, the girl who kidnapped other girls to save her sister and then gets kidnapped by Bunnyman again, has a gun with one last shot in it. Bunnyman only ever moves at this leisurely stroll, is trying to rev up a chainsaw as he walks towards her, and rather than shoot him, she blows her own brains out. Which I guess is because her sister was dead and that was the only family she had left and she was traumatized or something. But I guess it was, if you want my honest opinion, it's because the director/scriptwriter wanted his villain to live and couldn't think of another way to get him out of that situation.
Well, I guess the whole thing is, like, either she kills herself or they go with the Michael Myers thing of you shoot the boogeyman, but
he gets back
work.
up. Yeah, okay. Speaking of Michael Myers, like, with Michael Myers, they heavily imply, by virtue of the scene where we do see him running, that the reason he's able to sneak up on people is because when they're not looking at him, he is not moving.
Wait a minute. Can we talk about the fact that this motherfucker just drives a car to catch up with his victims?
We talked about that, but also, occasionally, you will see someone have a good 30-second head start on him, take off at a full sprint. We see him pick up a weapon, put on his bunny mask, leisurely stroll after them, and then the next shot shows him 10 feet behind him.
I remember I saw a temper tantrum scene by the Bunnyman in this movie at some point.
In the dinner scene, yeah, where the redneck's making fun of him.
And it is more unenthusiastic than the Tommy Wiseau freak-out scene in The Room.
Well, to be fair...
It is more of a person just lazily throwing things off of a shelf than that scene.
Well, to be fair... God, I can't believe I'm being fair to this movie, but to be fair to the guy in the bunny suit... He's wearing a giant Easter Bunny suit with a giant Easter Bunny mascot head, and it was super obvious that he was scripted to throw certain specific things. I guarantee you that man could barely see in that thing.
As a person who has been in a
I've been in them too.
Yeah, but they have limited sight lines, but like once you get used to them, you generally know where you're going.
Did this movie feel like it was filmed in the time frame that would let him get used to it?
Like a week?
Would you like? I wouldn't be surprised if someone said, "Oh yeah, they did every shot in one take."
It also looks like a cheap costume with even worse sight lines than what I was working with.
I'll say this: the choice to use an obviously cheap, smiling Easter Bunny suit did work early on before you become, used to it.
Well, as much as it could work when in the first 45 seconds of the movie we see the Bunnyman slaughter a full school bus full of kids.
Children. I hate to rag on child actors, but...
they just all... It was obviously like, alright, just uniformly slowly get out of the bus, slowly run from the Bunnyman.
They recorded screaming, but the looks on the kid's face aren't, oh god, this man just shot our bus driver and is coming at us with a chainsaw. They were, I guess I have to run away from the creepy bunny now. Oh no. Also, this movie has a bad problem with the blood spraying onto the camera or onto things from angles it shouldn't, from where the wounds are coming from. Like, he'll slash someone in the neck, and then blood will just go everywhere 360 degrees.
The story and the style...
There is no story. What story?
The story and the style wanted to be Texas Chainsaw. The blood and gore wanted to be Kill Bill.
Yeah. Or one of the Texas Chainsaw remakes.
Yeah. Just all over the place.
Here's my biggest issue. I mean, okay, A, the movie wasn't about Bunnyman. B, I mean, it kind of was, I guess. But B, there was no real plot. And C, the actual urban legend and the actual two reported to the police thing
has more consistency.
There's promise there. You could make a decent horror movie out of that.
Because
there's an idea
it's
there.
It's just somebody guarding his property.
With an axe and a bunny suit.
Yeah.
The bunny suit raises questions.
Yeah.
The fact that he maybe ate someone's cat raises questions. But this was just him and his adoptive, abusive, redneck father murdering people.
I cannot believe this was this guy's pet project, unless this was intentionally funny.
I don't think it was. Because occasionally they'll get good ideas, like putting the girl in the giant oil drum and then drilling screws into it, then kicking it down a hill. That's a screwed up way to die. It's ruined by the redneck dude's horrible acting and the fact that the girl visibly figures out what they're doing but makes no attempt to escape. But in the hands of better actors and a better director, that could be something like worthy of one of the Saw movies.
The only thing that confuses me is that we both found the same moments funny.
Because they were
like
funny.
Laugh out loud funny.
But I don't think they were supposed to be funny. I think they were awful. Like, it's like watching Monster A Go-Go.
Okay.
Which is another horrible movie that the Mystery Science Theater 3000 people covered.
Right.
Because we kept mentioning Manos, The Hands of Fate during this because of all the stupid, long, quote-unquote creepy establishing shots of...
When the first, like 20 minutes of Manos is like...
long establishing
one
shots.
long road shot.
And this movie did that with forest shots. Not quite as long, but it wanted to.
We should do an episode on Manos.
I don't want to watch Manos. Oh, God. Anyway, my point is, Monster A Go-Go is another movie that Mystery Science Theater 3000 covered, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Because it's awful. It's clearly trying to be scary, but it's awful.
Speaking of Mystery Science, have you ever seen Hobgoblins?
Yeah, the Gremlins ripoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, let's move on.
No, see, Gremlins is a movie that is a horror comedy.
Yeah.
That was trying to be funny. This wasn't trying to be funny. This was trying to be scary. With all the blood and the threatening to rape people and the girls tied up and...
The threatening to rape people and never removing anyone's clothes.
Well, except in that first shot where the girl's having sex with the guy in the tent.
Oh, yeah!
Remember how, okay...
It starts off with gratuitous nudity.
And then never gets near it again. And then later, when the narrative would call for some nudity that could have actually been creepy, it doesn't do it. But what it does do is have us have a character who is introduced with a full frontal nudity scene, well, topless scene, and then when she's killed, she falls over in such a way that the shot frames her breasts
it's like
and not her face.
It's like the movie perved out in the beginning and then said, oh no, we have to think of the children.
This movie wasn't thinking of the children, dude. There was so much fake blood. A woman got her eye drilled out with a power drill.
Okay, I'm talking in terms of sexual reservedness.
Speaking of the woman getting her eye drilled out with a power drill, I love the fact that she wakes up right before the drill hits her, in time for her to feel the drill entering her eye, and her reaction is, ah! And then she dies. That volume, that level of volume.
Well, I mean...
How about the fact that the opening credits were weird black and white stock footage of people eating and bunny rabbits?
Yeah, okay, so the opening shot is just black and white stock footage of a bunch of random people doing a bunch of random things.
And then also some bunnies in cages. Oh yeah, there's a subplot in the beginning of the movie. Well, subplot. It's the reason the Bunnyman throws that horribly restrained temper tantrum is because the redneck calls him an idiot for trying to feed his pet rabbit meat because apparently he keeps starving rabbits to death by trying to feed them meat. And then this is never brought up again.
There's also this side thing where this couple stops by and...
is sold human beef jerky.
Yeah, this entire family is sold beef...
And the way the redneck's staring at him, you think he's going to try to kill him, but he doesn't. They just never show up again. Actors were hired to show up, drive up to the thing. Oh my god, the entire point of that scene was just so that we could get the redneck flashing back to murdering the deputy, so that we'd have a reason for the sheriff to hate him later.
Yeah.
They hired 4 actors just for that. To never show up again. Oh my god. Also, in the scene where the sheriff shows up and we're like, wow, this guy can act, he deduces that someone was in the redneck store playing the piano because the redneck doesn't play the piano, but the piano has been played recently because the dust's been disturbed. But then he doesn't actually do any detective work. The next time we see the sheriff, he just stumbles onto the escaping girls as they run blindly through the forest.
Yo, we're discovering more and more bad things about this movie as we talk about it.
I think we're putting more thought into the plot than the scriptwriter did. Also, again, written, directed, and produced by the same guy. He didn't know to spread the blame around.
Yeah, I guess.
This was his baby.
He didn't know that Alan Smithy was the guy he could talk
Seriously, if this movie was his baby, well, I mean...
He made 2 sequels!
I don't know how, because again, to keep with the baby metaphor, this film was in a
He
portion.
must have gone full parody, because it doesn't make any sense otherwise.
I mean, this movie apparently was released in theaters, briefly.
Yeah, like probably 2.
Most of the reviews came from horror sites, and they all trashed it. One site that I looked up actually said that they were giving it a, quote, generous 3 stars out of 10. Because the cinematography was good.
Okay, yes.
The guy clearly knew how to handle a camera.
They know how to shoot a movie.
But then again,
Good for them.
all of his choices with how to shoot it, like, he knows how to shoot it, but all of his choices are bad. Like, again, framing a kill scene in such a way so that when the victim dies, her naked breasts are what the camera's focusing on.
Okay, but that was probably just his personal choice.
Again, though, that's less horror and more exploitation. It makes sense why he did a Grindhouse cut in 2019. This film is, I'm not going to say classic Grindhouse, because some Grindhouse movies are actually decent, but this movie really is trying to be a Grindhouse film. In case you don't know, Grindhouse films were low-budget horror/exploitation movies, high on the gore, and it tended to use dialogue to pad out their runtime that would play at drive-in movie theaters called Grindhouse theaters back in the 80s and 70s.
This does sound like a Grindhouse film.
But it's
Some
trying
Grindhouse
to
films
be
are
one.
Most Grindhouse films are better than this.
I wouldn't go that far. A lot of Grindhouse films are awful.
Okay.
It's sort of like how a lot of exploitation films are bad, but someone like Quentin Tarantino can make a film that is basically an exploitation film, but is good.
The guy has a...
This isn't that. I almost want to make... I'm almost compelled to try to make a better Bunnyman movie, because... Although you're always going to be...
we need a budget to do
Although
that.
here's the other thing, you're always going to be shackled to the fact that no matter what you do, your villain is called Bunnyman. I'm sorry, that's silly. Remember the scene where Bunnyman had to eat, and because he's wearing a Bunnyman mask, had to keep manually moving the mask out of the way to shove food up underneath it to get to his mouth?
There's so many ways we can make this scarier. There's so... Like... Basically following the general rules of the urban legend. That's one.
Not showing your villain right out the gate. Not tipping your hand on the gore right out the gate.
Maybe a silhouette. Maybe.
Yeah, it's...
Like...
Oh, boy.
It needs to pace itself. It needs to breathe.
Having
more.
an actual plot.
Yeah.
Having a... Okay, here's part of the thing. Yeah, a lot of the ways people were killed in this were horrible. But we didn't know anything about any of the people who were killed. They were just interchangeable women who I am guaranteeing you were cast based on their looks, not their acting ability. And I don't mean this as a dig against the women. They got maybe a dozen lines between the lot of them. And there was like so many of them. It was just he's killing one attractive girl after another attractive girl. Again, the tagline was either Pretty Girls Die Young or Monsters Are Real. Both of which are just inspired taglines, wouldn't you say?
Monsters Are Real.
Accompanying a picture of a man in an Easter Bunny costume wielding a chainsaw. Yeah, that's this movie.
This movie's bad. This movie's bad. You know this movie's bad.
At the 25-minute mark, you're like, how much more of this is there? I'm like, we're like 20 minutes in. And you, like, moaned in agony. And then you went and got the jug of wine and started cuddling it. There is not enough alcohol in the world to make this a good film.
No, not enough.
Yeah, no, bad. Maybe so bad it's good.
There
at
might
times.
be enough chloroform in the world to make this a good film.
The redneck wasn't allowed to be scared. He menaces people a lot, but there's so many scenes where he's like threatening to do horrible things to the female characters that the movie then never lets him do. So the poor guy acting this character has to spend 5 minutes threatening to rape someone in different ways. There's only so many ways to threaten to rape someone.
Like, he just gets in his face like, I'm gonna...
Sticking his tongue out and waggling it and saying, oh, I'll have my way with you, this, that, and the other thing.
He gets in your face and he goes, Bah!
It's not even an exaggeration. He does that on more than one occasion. Like, I'd say at least 3 different times.
There's nothing to this. There's really nothing here. There's nothing here of interest.
Yeah.
But if you liked this video, give us a like.
And subscribe. Oh my god. Alright, I don't know what we're doing next. I don't know what's happening.
Contribute to our PayPal.
We don't. We're doing Patreon. The joke is Patreon.
No, just direct it to our PayPal. I'm kidding.
Oh, this movie broke something inside of us.
I'm kidding. We don't have a PayPal.
Anyway, this has been the Bunnyman. This has been Bunnyman and or the Bunnyman Massacre. We're not touching the sequels. I don't want to see what this guy came up with next. This was bad. This one hurt. It didn't hurt as much as, like, the new Twilight Zone, because that one made me angry. This one was... When it wasn't hilarious in ways it wasn't trying to be, it was boring. And when it wasn't boring, it was hackneyed.
Like, I think the best parts were the murders, and that's all we can say about that.
And the murders weren't scary. My reaction...
If you want a good laugh, YouTube the Bunnyman Massacre murders, and you'll get a nice clip showing.
I think somebody did make a kill count video for this, so watch that. Save yourself the hour and 45 minutes.
Watch some funny reviews on YouTube, like this one.
Anyway, we don't know what we're doing next.
We're taking it day by day,
like we've said. Anyway, I have been ghastly.
I have been gruesome.
Stay spooky, y'all.
Stay spooky, stay safe.